Everybody, Spartan here for February 8th, 2022. Let's take a look at the daily recap today. So we came into the market, we were leaning a little bit bearish out the gate, and we did get a pull to the downside. We did get a head fake, held last day's low, started to push back off of the flag range support, which I mentioned this morning, that 444 at 80 area. We got right to it, basically 445.20, pretty close. And you can see that flag support on the daily as well. If that level held, I was thinking that we could get to that downtrend on the daily, potentially break through it, or on the hourly, I should say, which we ended up breaking through pretty early on. One thing I did notice was in the morning, the IWM broke through that level and held it quite well, right? Basically right out the gate. So you had a little bit of a divergence on that and was leading the market right away. So the small caps, kind of the opening names as well, were some really good names to focus on today. Some of the names that we did get into and trade. So let's take a look at some of that stuff. On the equity side this morning, we did take some Tesla on the long side at that 902 area. We sold it on that little pop on the upside into the 910s, 911s. mRNA, we did take short a couple times today. We took it short right out the gate at 153.85. We covered a bunch of it on the first pull. It popped back up. We ended up getting stopped out the rest of our entry, getting back into it short, and then trading it down to the 147 level after that. So double short, or two shorts on that today. Decent little trade. We took some UPST long, played it to the upside. That was a good trade. We also had the 105 calls, which worked out nicely. They were a roll. We had Afrin on the long side at 64, which we played it into that 65.50 area. So that was a decent little trade as well. Facebook, we took some long this morning out the gate. We played it for a quick little pop to the upside, had stops at the entries at 224.23, ended up getting stopped out when it did pull back there. But it was a pretty good trade as well. SOPA, another small stock that we went after today at 489. We were in it basically right on this morning push. Played it into this breakout level resistance, which was the 589 level. Ended up selling 3/4 of it into that push, pulled back. We ended up getting out of the rest of it at that 5 level. But it was a pretty good small cap trade for 1 point, or 20% and change on that name to the upside. So good little trade there. We took some W on the long side on the equity, 146. Played it to the upside, got about 149 on that. That was a good one as well. CFVI was one that we took, basically held it all day until the end of the day, and we sold it into that last little pop. Didn't really get a huge movement like I was looking for. We took some Coop at 31.86, sold this at the end of the day at like 31.30. Small trade, but decent. GME, we took this on the long side as well. We took this at 109.62. We traded it, sold 3/4, actually 7/8, almost all of it into this push here, and then we ended up getting out of the rest at the end of the day as well. Netflix and NVAX, we took NVAX short, 82.23, ended up getting out of most of it, and then the rest of it when it reclaimed EMA support there, so it was a good point and change trade. Airbnb, we played that to the upside on this flag break, ended up selling it for a point, and then getting stopped out the rest at our entries. And then lastly, what did we do? We did Netflix on the long side. At the end of the day, we played that for a couple points to the upside on that SPY push. And that was it on the equity side. And I'm pretty sure we had a 100% hit rate on the equity side today, which was great. Just looking at my... yeah. We did 100% hit rate on the equity side. So equity was really good for us today. And I always find, when the market's choppy, it's better to stick with equity rather than options. I don't know if you guys noticed this morning, option contracts, the prices of the calls and puts were really wonky on the premium side. Everything was pretty juiced out the gate. And when things were moving in the direction that you had it, you weren't getting that premium pushing or premium coming in and pushing that price to the upside, so it was a little bit more difficult to trade. Some of the names that we did trade today on the option side today, we did take Microsoft 310s, which worked out nicely. We took BABA 125s out the gate, which worked out nicely as well. We had some Tesla that we rolled into twice. We did the 950s and then the 970s, which both worked out. And then we actually took the 1,000 calls overnight for a swing. CVS, we took the 110s, which ended up getting nicely in the money there. AMD, the 128 calls, which ended up getting nicely in the money at the end of the day for 100% and change. GMIA, which ended up going up about 25%, 30%, which was an okay trade. We took the 950 calls on that. Square, this was one that didn't work. We took the 110s. This one failed. The premiums actually held up on the calls, but the option contract didn't go anywhere. BA, same thing. We had a failed trade on this one. We had the 220s, which didn't end up working. Basically, just kind of stayed at the same area, consolidated there all day. The nice thing is the premiums, like I said, did hold up, but didn't really move much. Citibank, we had about a 20% move on this. On the upside, had the 68 calls this morning. It was a pretty decent trade, but again, premiums are so expensive that even though it worked and went almost in the money, we didn't necessarily make that much. SPY 440 puts we had as a hedge intraday out the gate, which didn't do anything. We ended up exiting those positions, or that position. We also took a SPY put at the end of the day, didn't end up working, and we did hold 455 calls the entire day off the lows. Those did work out nicely for us. Teladoc 65 puts was a nice little trade to the downside today. There was some weakness basically all day that we noticed right out the gate. Had some relative weakness. 370 puts on MA. We scalped those for a little bit. Amazon, I was playing some of the more expensive calls today. This morning we played the 3,000 puts. Ended up selling those for a point and change. We played the 3,300 calls. At the end of the day, ending up selling those for about $1.50 per contract to the upside. Low, we took this for over 50%. The 240 calls, which was a pretty decent trade. And for the most part, nothing too crazy on the option side. Again, those premiums were pretty juiced up. I think the best trade of the day for us was Peloton. Had the 40 calls at where did we have them at? 90 cents. They ended up getting in the money, and what we did was we took half the calls off. We actually sold the 42 calls against it for a credit of -4 cents, and that spread actually went up to 1,700%. So that was a good little trade. We ended up taking a bunch off the spread there, and we're still holding that spread just because it's paid for. No matter what, we're gonna you make money on it. If it expires, worthless, you make money. If it gets in the money, obviously you're gonna make some more money. So always like to sell upper end strikes against my lower end strikes if we're getting a very directional move and I want to take risk off. But overall, pretty decent day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Looking at the market, guys, we do have a flag break to the upside that did occur on the hourly. We held that level, which is great. Now we have to get further confirmation tomorrow. We got to break that 452.70, and then we should see continuation towards that 50 MA on the daily to the upside. But I think pretty decent staying power in the market today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Should be a pretty interesting one. We do stream from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day, guys. If you have any questions or want to join us, you can go to SpartanTrading.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Also, tomorrow's Wednesday, so we do have our pre-market streaming. That happens every single Wednesday in the morning. So you can join us for that as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Have a good rest of the day. See ya.